The massive doors of the judgment chamber slid open with a low hiss. Admiral Marcus Riker took a deep breath and stepped forward, his footsteps echoing across the polished black floor. The chamber stretched impossibly high above him, its curved walls lined with thousands of observation platforms where alien representatives watched in tense silence. Their eyes, some glowing, some multifaceted, some barely recognizable as sensory organs, all focused on the lone human who dared to enter their sacred hall. Marcus stood alone on the circular platform in the center of the chamber. No support staff, no delegation, no weapons, just as the council had demanded. The platform slowly rose, lifting him 20 feet into the air so every being in the massive amphitheater could see him clearly. "Representative of Earth," boomed a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You stand before the Galactic Council, the governing authority of 3,417 worlds." High Counselor Voxamar moved into view on the central dais. His body resembled an upright octopus with iridescent skin that shifted between deep purples and blues. 12 tentacles draped in ceremonial gold moved with fluid grace as he addressed the chamber. "For the first time in 800 years, we convene a judgment session," Voxamar announced, his voice amplified by the chamber's perfect acoustics. "The charges against humanity are severe." Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing evidence of Earth's supposed crimes. Ships entering restricted zones, communications intercepting council transmissions, defense systems beyond approved technological levels. "Humanity joined our galactic community just 2 centuries ago," continued Voxamar, his skin darkening to almost black. "In that short time, you have repeatedly violated restrictions placed upon developing species. You have expanded beyond your approved boundaries. You have developed technologies deemed unsafe by our science directorate." From his elevated position, Marcus could see thousands of alien representatives murmuring among themselves. Some showed obvious hostility, others seemed merely curious, and a very few, showed signs that might be interpreted as support. "The Council has voted," Voxamar declared. "By a majority of 83%, Earth is found in violation of galactic security protocols. You now face 2 options. Accept complete oversight by Council monitors with immediate technology restrictions, or face isolation behind a Class 3 containment field." The chamber fell silent. Even the most hostile representatives seemed shocked by the severity of the judgment. A Class 3 containment field would cut Earth off from all interstellar travel and communication for a minimum of 50 years. Marcus stood motionless for several long seconds. Then, contrary to all diplomatic protocol, he smiled. "High Counselor," he said, his voice calm and clear, "I thank the Council for its judgment." Confusion rippled through the chamber. "You accept these terms?" Voxamar asked, his tentacles coiling in surprise. "I didn't say that," Marcus replied. He reached slowly into his pocket, causing security drones to descend from the ceiling with weapons ready. "I'm simply retrieving Earth's formal response." He held up a small black cube no larger than his thumb. When he pressed it, a holographic display appeared above the platform, not the expected formal diplomatic response, but something that caused gasps throughout the chamber. It was a map of Council space, but unlike any the Council had seen before. It showed networks and connections that shouldn't exist, pathways between systems that bypassed official routes, communication nodes hidden in supposedly empty regions, monitoring stations embedded in places thought secure. "For 200 years, Marcus said, humanity has played by your rules. We accepted restrictions, submitted to inspections, and slowed our development to match your expectations. And all that time, we were preparing for this day." The hologram expanded, revealing thousands of points of light throughout Council space. "What you're seeing is the Dawn Network," Marcus explained, "an independent system built by Earth operating parallel to your official channels. It connects every human outpost, every Earth vessel, every human diplomat and trader throughout your territory." The chamber erupted in outrage. "Impossible," shouted a reptilian delegate from the upper tiers. "Such a network would have been detected." "By your technology, perhaps," Marcus agreed. "But humanity advanced far beyond your detection capabilities within our first 50 years in Council space. We simply kept that fact to ourselves." He tapped the cube again, and the hologram changed to show something even more alarming. Detailed schematics of the Council's most secure systems. "We have access to everything," Marcus continued, his voice still unnervingly calm. Defense grids, communication encryption, diplomatic archives. For a century, we've watched you discuss how to limit Earth's growth, how to keep humanity contained, how to ensure we never challenge the founding species for influence. High Counselor, Voxamar's skin had turned ashen gray, a sign of extreme distress in his species. This is an unprecedented violation, he managed to say, his voice no longer booming with authority. The Council will not be blackmailed. This isn't blackmail, Marcus replied. It's negotiation. Earth has no desire to undermine the Council or to threaten any world. We simply refuse to be treated as second-class members of galactic society. He tapped the cube a final time. The hologram now displayed a formal document, a proposed treaty. These are our terms, Marcus said. Equal standing for Earth in all Council matters. Removal of technology restrictions that apply uniquely to humans. Joint oversight of trade routes and security protocols. A murmur spread through the chamber as representatives accessed the treaty details through their personal interfaces. In exchange, Marcus continued, we will integrate the Dawn network with Council systems, sharing its capabilities with all member worlds. We'll provide access to medical and energy technologies we've developed independently, and we'll commit to joint defense agreements that protect all Council species, not just the founding races. Voxamar's tentacles twisted in agitation. The Council does not renegotiate under threat. Then don't see it as a threat, Marcus suggested. See it as revelation. Earth could have used its position to break away from the Council entirely, to establish a competing power in this region of the galaxy. Instead, we're offering partnership. He stepped to the edge of the platform, addressing the entire chamber. For 2 centuries, the Council has seen humanity as a problem to be managed. Today, we ask you to see us as we truly are. Not a threat to galactic stability, but its next evolution. The chamber had fallen silent again. Thousands of alien representatives absorbing the implications of what they'd just witnessed. You have 24 hours to consider our proposal, Marcus said, stepping back to the center of the platform. If it's rejected, Earth will withdraw completely from Council space. The Dawn network will separate from your systems rather than integrate with them. And every world will know the truth about how the Council has been operating for the past millennium. The platform began to descend, taking Marcus back to floor level. The choice is yours, counselors, he said as he departed. Judge wisely. As the massive doors closed behind him, the judgment chamber exploded into chaos. Representatives shouted questions, demands, and threats. Security protocols activated automatically as tensions rose. In the private council chamber adjacent to the main hall, Voxamar convened an emergency meeting of the 7 founding species. How could we have missed this? Demanded the Xanthi representative, her crystalline body vibrating with anger. An entire shadow network throughout our territory. The humans concealed their true capabilities from the beginning, replied the Tellurian observer, his gaseous form shifting nervously within its containment field. The question now is what we do about it. Voxamar's skin had settled into a mottled pattern that indicated deep thought. We have no choice, he said finally. We must accept their terms. Outrageous! The Xanthi exclaimed. We cannot reward such deception. The alternative is worse, Voxamar said quietly. If they expose the Council's internal dealings as threatened, many worlds would reconsider their membership. The Council could fragment. He moved to the viewing portal, watching as security drones tried to restore order in the main chamber. The humans outmaneuvered us completely, he admitted. They used our own prejudices against us. We were so convinced of our superiority that we never imagined they had advanced beyond our understanding. The Tellurian observer drifted closer. Perhaps this was inevitable. No species in Council history has developed as rapidly as humans. In 2 centuries, they accomplished what took most of us millennia. Voxamar's tentacles curled in resignation. The Council will survive this challenge, he said, but it will emerge changed. The day we plan to put humanity in its place has become the day we must accept them as equals. Outside the Council headquarters, Admiral Marcus Riker boarded his shuttle, allowing himself a small smile as the craft lifted off. Phase 1 was complete. Earth's gambit had worked, for now. But the next 24 hours would determine whether humanity had truly secured its place among the stars, or ignited a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. The diplomatic vessel Celestial Accord drifted in high orbit above Centraxia Prime. its sleek hull reflecting the purple glow of the planet's 3 moons. Inside the ship's primary conference room, Ilara Novak stood by the viewport, watching Council battlecruisers patrol the space around the massive orbital station that served as the Galactic Council's headquarters. Behind her, 4 Council representatives waited impatiently. They had been arguing for hours, and the tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Your Admiral Riker has placed the Council in an impossible position," said Delegate Thraxis, a tall insectoid whose mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. His exoskeleton gleamed under the conference room lights. "No governing body can negotiate while under threat." Ilara turned from the viewport, her dark eyes revealing nothing of her thoughts. Unlike Admiral Riker's confrontational approach the day before, her strategy relied on calculated calm. "Is it a threat to reveal the truth?" she asked. "Earth has hidden its capabilities for decades, yes, but only because the Council has systematically restricted our growth since we joined galactic society." She activated the holographic display in the center of the table, bringing up historical records of Council decisions regarding Earth. 27 separate regulations had been enacted, specifically to limit human expansion and technological development for 2 centuries. "Humanity played by your rules," Ilara continued. "We accepted being treated as junior partners despite contributing more to galactic trade and scientific advancement than species who have held council seats for millennia." Grand Minister Lomar, a being whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent light patterns, leaned forward. "The restrictions were put in place because your species develops too quickly, too unpredictably. No other race in Council history went from atmospheric flight to interstellar travel in less than 2 centuries. And that frightened you," Ilara observed. "So instead of embracing our potential contribution, you chose to contain it." The 3rd delegate, Ambassador Zrel of the Mercantile Alliance, tapped his 4 fingers rhythmically on the table. Unlike the others, he seemed more curious than outraged. "The Dawn Network," he said, referring to the shadow system Riker had revealed. "How extensive is it, truly?" "The schematics shown yesterday were impressive but vague on details." Ilara smiled slightly. "Computer, initiate Dawn Protocol Alpha." The ship's lights flickered briefly, and then the holographic display expanded dramatically, filling the entire conference room with a 3-dimensional map of Council space. Within it, countless interconnected nodes pulsed with light. The full extent of Earth's hidden network. The Dawn network includes 37,000 primary nodes and over 2 million subsidiary connections, Ilara explained. It covers every inhabited system in Council space, plus 82% of uninhabited systems. Its processing capacity exceeds the Council's official network by a factor of 12. The 4th delegate, a crystalline being named Vex who represented the Council's scientific directorate, made a sound like shattering glass, an expression of shock in their species. "Impossible," they said. "The energy requirements alone would be detected." "Not if the network operates on principles your science hasn't discovered yet," Ilara replied. She enlarged a section of the display, showing the internal workings of a network node. "Human quantum physicists overcame the Taric energy barrier 70 years ago. We've been operating in what you would call subspace ever since." The delegates exchanged alarmed glances. The Taric barrier was considered an immutable law of physics throughout Council space. "Why reveal all this now?" Ambassador Zrel asked. "Why not continue developing in secret?" "Because secrecy was never our goal," Ilara said. "Partnership is Earth doesn't want to operate outside Council authority. We want to be full participants in a fair and equal galactic community." She deactivated the display and faced the delegates directly. "In 12 hours, the Council will vote on our proposal. Before they do, I'd like to show you something else." Ilara touched a small communicator on her wrist. "Admiral, proceed with Phase 2. Across Council space on 23 key worlds, carefully placed human operatives activated dormant systems. Nothing dramatic, no weapons, no explosions. Instead, subtle changes began rippling through crucial infrastructure. On the agricultural world, Fertilia Prime, irrigation systems suddenly operated 15% more efficiently, increasing crop yields overnight. On Nexus Hub, the central banking planet, financial algorithms imperceptibly shifted, eliminating corruption patterns that had drained trillions from public funds annually. On Medica, Disease prediction models suddenly achieved 99.8% accuracy, allowing preventative measures for 3 emerging pandemics. In the conference room, Ilara's communicator chimed as confirmation reports arrived. She displayed them without comment. "What have you done?" whispered Thraxus, mandibles now completely still in shock. "Demonstrated value," Ilara replied simply. "For decades, the Council has treated humanity as a threat to be contained. We've just shown you a glimpse of what we could offer as allies." The conference room doors slid open, and a junior council aide rushed in, his tentacles waving in excitement. "Ministers!" he exclaimed. "Reports are coming in from across council space. Critical systems are showing unprecedented improvements. Financial networks, agricultural production, medical facilities, all operating at efficiency levels we've never seen before." The 4 delegates stared at Ilara in stunned silence. "This is what humanity brings to the table," she said. "Not threats, but solutions. Not domination, but elevation." Grand Minister Lomar's bioluminescent patterns had shifted to a deep blue, an indication of intense thought in his species. "These improvements, they could be reversed just as easily, I assume." "They could," Ilara acknowledged. "But that's not our intention. This demonstration is permanent, regardless of the Council's decision tomorrow. Consider it a gift, and a sample of what full cooperation might achieve." Ambassador Zrel leaned back in his chair, all 4 eyes fixed on Ilara. "Fascinating approach. Your admiral threatens while you entice. Was this strategy planned from the beginning?" "Earth has been planning this moment for generations," Ilara replied. "We've studied every council species, every culture, every psychological profile. We know some respond to strength, others to opportunity. We're offering both." The meeting concluded shortly after, the delegates departing with copies of the data showing the system improvements across council worlds. As they left, Ambassador Zrel lingered behind. "Off the record," he said quietly. "Many in the Mercantile Alliance have long believed the Council's restrictions on humanity were short-sighted. Your species brings innovation the galaxy desperately needs." "Then I hope you'll vote accordingly tomorrow," Ilara responded. After the delegates departed, Ilara returned to the viewport. The Council battlecruisers continued their patrol, their powerful weapon systems clearly visible. A not-so-subtle reminder of the Council's military might. Her communicator chimed again. "It was Admiral Riker. Phase 2 complete," she reported. "Reactions were as predicted. The Scientific Directorate is in shock. The Security Consortium is suspicious, and the Mercantile Alliance is intrigued." "And the Executive Branch?" Riker asked. "Grand Minister Lomar is cautious but calculating. He sees the potential benefits of accepting our terms." "Good," Riker said. "Prepare for Phase 3. If the Council refuses our proposal, we need to be ready for immediate withdrawal." "Do you think it will come to that?" Ilara asked. There was a pause before Riker answered. "I hope not. The Dawn network was designed for integration, not separation. Pulling it out of Council systems would cause significant disruption. That's precisely why they'll accept our terms," Ilara said confidently. "The Council values stability above all else. Once they realize how deeply our network is embedded in their infrastructure, they'll have no choice but to partner with us." After ending the communication, Ilara studied the planet below. Centraxia Prime had been the seat of galactic government for over 2,000 years. Its majestic cities and soaring spires represented the pinnacle of unified civilization, or so the Council claimed. The truth, which humanity had discovered long ago, was more complex. The supposed unity masked deep divisions, with the founding species maintaining privileges denied to newer members. The grand vision of cooperative galactic governance had devolved into a system of control and limitation. Tomorrow, that would change. Either the Council would accept Earth as a true equal, or humanity would chart its own path among the stars. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. As the largest moon slipped behind Centraxia's horizon, casting the ship in shadow, Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Centuries of patience were about to pay off. The Council had never understood humans, their resilience, their ingenuity, their determination. By the time they realized their mistake, it would be too late. The day of judgment had arrived, but not as the Council had planned. Instead of Earth facing trial, It was the Galactic Council itself that would be forced to confront its failings and embrace a new future, one with humanity as an equal partner or as a formidable independent power. The Grand Council chamber had never witnessed such chaos. Typically a model of decorum despite its diverse membership, today it more closely resembled a marketplace at peak hours, loud, disorganized, and fraught with competing interests. Representatives from over 3,000 worlds filled the massive amphitheater, their voices rising in a cacophony of arguments, threats, and desperate pleas for order. High Counselor Voxamar's amplified voice barely cut through the noise as he repeatedly struck his ceremonial staff against the floor. The booming sound reverberated through the chamber, finally bringing a semblance of quiet. "The council will have order," he demanded, his skin shifting through patterns of authority and command. "We will proceed with structured debate. Each faction will select one speaker, 2 minutes per presentation." In the upper tier of the chamber, Ambassador Drake Wilson of Earth sat alone, observing. Unlike Riker's confrontational stance or Ilara's calculated diplomacy, Wilson was there simply to watch, and to ensure the council understood that humanity was paying close attention. The first speaker approached the central platform, Archon Zelos of the Security Consortium, representing 38 militaristic worlds. His metallic exoskeleton gleamed under the chamber lights, and his 4 arms were positioned in a formal stance of challenge. "The human threat must be neutralized immediately," Zelos declared, his voice harsh and mechanical. "Their network represents the most significant breach of Council security protocols in recorded history. We recommend immediate military action to disable their systems and place Earth under direct Council control." Murmurs of agreement rippled through certain sections of the chamber. The Security Consortium had always favored strength over diplomacy. "And how exactly would you accomplish this?" called out a voice from the lower tiers. All eyes turned to Matriarch Lydia, representative of the Evolutionary Collective, a group of worlds known for their biological sciences. "The humans have demonstrated technological capabilities beyond our understanding. Any military action would likely trigger the very scenario we're trying to avoid." Archon Zelos bristled visibly. "Are you suggesting we capitulate to their demands? Set a precedent that any species with sufficient technology can blackmail the Council?" "I'm suggesting we be realistic," Lydia replied calmly. "The situation calls for pragmatism, not pride." As the debate continued, Ambassador Wilson received a message on his secured device. He reviewed it briefly, then stood and made his way down to the speaking platform. Though he had no scheduled time, the curiosity of the Council was such that Voxamar recognized him immediately. "The representative from Earth wishes to address the Council," Voxamar announced. "Given the circumstances, I will allow it." Wilson took the platform, his expression grave. He was older than both Riker and Novak, his hair silver, his face marked by years of diplomatic service. "Esteemed representatives," he began, "I've just received information that requires your immediate attention." He activated the platform's display system, showing a series of images from across Council space, the same worlds where Ilara had implemented improvements the previous day. 12 hours ago, Earth demonstrated how our technology could benefit Council worlds, Wilson explained. Improved agricultural yields, more efficient energy distribution, advanced medical diagnostics. Benefits freely given with no strings attached. The images shifted, showing different locations, military installations, weapons platforms, defense systems. What you're seeing now are Council military assets that have been compromised, not by Earth, but by various factions within the Council itself. Backdoors, hidden protocols, override systems installed without authorization. The chamber erupted again, representatives shouting accusations and denials. "This is outrageous," bellowed Archon Zelos. "These claims are unsubstantiated." Wilson remained calm. "Each of you is now receiving detailed technical documentation proving these compromises. You'll find them quite substantiated." He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with key representatives. "Earth didn't create these vulnerabilities. We merely discovered them. For years, various Council factions have been positioning themselves for advantage in a potential internal conflict. You've been so focused on containing external threats that you've ignored the rot within." Voxamar's tentacles writhed in agitation. "Ambassador Wilson, what is the point of this revelation? To further destabilize the Council?" "On the contrary," Wilson replied. "To save it." He switched the display again, showing a complex technical schematic. This is a security system designed by human engineers. If implemented, it would eliminate all the backdoors and vulnerabilities we've identified. It would protect Council systems not just from external threats, but from internal sabotage as well. The chamber had fallen completely silent. Earth offers this system freely regardless of your decision on our proposal. Consider it a demonstration of good faith. He deactivated the display and stepped back from the platform. You have been governing under the illusion of unity while preparing for conflict amongst yourselves. Humanity doesn't seek to exploit these divisions. We hope to help you resolve them. Wilson bowed slightly. The vote on Earth status will proceed as scheduled in 3 hours. But I suggest you use that time to consider what kind of council you wish to be. One paralyzed by fear and internal strife, or one strong enough to embrace change and grow. As Wilson returned to his seat, the chamber remained silent for several long moments. Then gradually, representatives began speaking to one another, not in angry shouts but in hushed, urgent conversations. High Counselor Voxamar watched the changing mood with rapidly shifting skin colors, a sign of deep emotional processing in his species. The humans had done something unexpected yet again. They had held up a mirror to the Council, forcing its members to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. In a private chamber adjacent to the main hall, Voxamar convened an emergency meeting with the leaders of the major Council factions. "Is it true?" demanded the Xanthi representative, her crystalline body vibrating with anger. "Have our military systems been compromised as the human claims?" "Our technical teams are still analyzing the data," replied the Tellurian observer, his gaseous form shifting nervously within its containment field. "But preliminary findings suggest, yes, the vulnerabilities exist." "And the human solution?" asked Matriarch Lydia. "Is it viable?" The head of the scientific directorate, a being composed of living metal, nodded reluctantly. "It appears sound. More than sound, it's brilliant. The security architecture they've designed would integrate seamlessly with our existing systems while eliminating the vulnerabilities. It would take our best engineers decades to develop something comparable." Voxamar's skin had settled into a mottled pattern of deep thought. "The vote approaches," he said. "How do we proceed?" Archon Zelo slammed one of his 4 hands on the table. "This changes nothing. The humans still violated our laws, still built an unauthorized network throughout our territory. A network they could have used to conquer or destroy us," Matriarch Lydia pointed out. "Instead, they're offering to share it. To strengthen us, at what cost?" Zelos demanded. "Equal partnership," said Ambassador Zarel, who had been quiet until now. "That's all they're asking for. The right to develop without arbitrary restrictions, to contribute fully to galactic society. And if we refuse?" Voxamar asked. Zarel spread his hands. "Then we lose access to their network, their technology, and their innovation. We also risk having our internal divisions exposed to every world in the Council. The political fallout would be significant." The room fell silent as each leader contemplated the implications. "We have no choice," Voxamar finally said. "We must accept their terms." Zelos started to object, but Voxamar silenced him with a gesture. "Not because they've threatened us," the High Counselor continued, "but because they've shown us a better path forward. For too long, the Council has operated on principles of control rather than cooperation. Perhaps it's time for that to change." Back in the main chamber, Ambassador Wilson watched the proceedings with quiet satisfaction. Phase 3 of Earth's strategy was proceeding exactly as planned. The Council was beginning to understand that humanity offered not just challenges, but opportunities. His secured device chimed softly. "A message from Admiral Riker. Contingency protocols active. If vote fails, prepared for immediate withdrawal." Wilson acknowledged the message but felt increasingly confident that such measures wouldn't be necessary. The mood in the chamber had shifted palpably. Representatives who had been hostile toward Earth hours earlier were now engaged in serious discussions about the benefits of partnership. A junior aide approached him nervously. "Ambassador Wilson, High Counselor Voxamar requests your presence in the executive chamber. The leadership is reconsidering their position." Wilson nodded and rose to follow the aide. As he walked through the ornate corridors of the Council headquarters, he reflected on the long path that had led to this moment. Centuries of careful planning, of hiding humanity's true potential, of learning the Council's strengths and weaknesses. Deep in the restricted sectors of Centraxia Prime, far below the public levels where the Council conducted its official business, Director Malazar paced the length of his secure command center. The room was bathed in dim blue light that reflected off his scaled skin as he moved. Holographic displays surrounded him, showing the ongoing Council deliberations above, as well as status reports from key military assets throughout the galaxy. "The humans have outplayed us at every turn," he growled to his executive officer, Commander Trix. "3 days ago, we were hours away from bringing them to heel. Now half the Council favors accepting their demands." Malazar was not an official representative of any Council world. His position, Director of Special Security Operations, existed in the shadowy space between official policy and necessary action. For 2 centuries, his organization had quietly ensured the Council's dominance, eliminating threats before they became public knowledge. "The vote is too close to predict," Trix replied, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she analyzed the latest projections. Her slender body moved with the precise efficiency of a predator as she manipulated the holographic controls. "But there's still our contingency." Malazar nodded grimly. "Operation Eclipse status?" Trix activated a secure terminal, bringing up a classified schematic. "Strike teams are in position near Earth's primary defense nodes. Quantum disruptors are charged and ready. On your command, we can disable their network and launch a simultaneous strike against their solar system. And the Council would never know we acted without authorization," Malazar mused, his forked tongue flicking out briefly, a sign of anticipation in his species. "Once the human network is disabled, we can present it as a fortunate system failure and proceed with the original plan to quarantine Earth." He reached for the authorization control, his clawed hand hovering over the activation panel. A soft chime sounded, an incoming transmission on a frequency that should have been impossible. The main display activated automatically, revealing the face of a human woman. Neither Malazar nor Trix recognized her, but her calm expression suggested complete confidence. "Director Malazar, Commander Trix," she said. "I'm Dr. Isabel Reeves, Earth Defense Intelligence." Malazar's spine ridges flared in alarm. "How did you access this channel? This facility doesn't officially exist. Just as your planned attack on Earth doesn't officially exist," Dr. Reeves replied with a raised eyebrow. "I'm contacting you as a professional courtesy before you make a catastrophic mistake." She nodded to someone off-screen, and the displays in Malazar's command center changed, showing detailed schematics of his own facility, security systems, personnel locations, even the contingency protocols for Operation Eclipse. "Impossible," whispered Trix, her normally steady voice wavering. "Our systems are isolated from all networks." "A common misconception," Dr. Reeves said. "True isolation is remarkably difficult to achieve, especially when your quantum encryption was developed using theoretical models provided by human scientists 70 years ago, models with deliberately engineered vulnerabilities." Malazar slammed his fist against the console, causing the displays to flicker. "You're bluffing. No species could have planned such deep infiltration over decades." "Not most species, no," agreed Dr. Reeves. "But you've never quite understood humans, have you? Our capacity for generational planning, for sacrifice now to gain advantage later. The first human representatives to the Council were already implementing our long-term strategy. Every concession we made, every restriction we accepted, all part of the plan." She leaned closer to the screen, her eyes locked with Malazar's. "Your strike teams near Earth's defense nodes? They've been under our surveillance since deployment. Your quantum disruptors? The targeting systems were compromised before installation. Operation Eclipse was never viable, Director." Malazar's confidence wavered for the first time. His ridge spines lowered slightly. "What do you want?" "The same thing we've wanted from the beginning. Equal partnership in the Council, free from arbitrary restrictions," Dr. Reeves answered. "But now I'm adding one more condition. Your organization's complete operational history delivered to the Council Security Committee within 1 hour. That would destroy us." Trix protested, her claws extending reflexively. "It would reform you," corrected Dr. Reeves. "The Council needs internal security, but accountable to proper oversight, not operating in the shadows. Humanity isn't opposed to the Council's existence, we simply object to how it's been corrupted." She checked something off screen. You have 59 minutes, Director. Choose wisely. The transmission ended, leaving Malazar staring at the detailed schematics of his supposedly secret facility. Every exit, every safe room, every contingency, all exposed. She's bluffing, Trix said, but without conviction. They couldn't possibly have this level of infiltration. Malazar turned to the operational status display for the strike teams near Earth. One by one, the indicators were turning from green to red as communication was lost with each unit. Not damaged or destroyed, simply disconnected. Stand down, Operation Eclipse, he ordered quietly, and prepare a full operational history for the Security Committee. Trix stared in disbelief. Director, we've lost, Commander. Malazar interrupted, his voice heavy with resignation. The humans weren't fighting against our last move. They were playing against strategies we hadn't even conceived yet. The game was over before we knew it had begun. As his staff hurried to comply with the new orders, Malazar gazed at the council chamber display, where the representatives continued their debate, completely unaware of the shadow war that had just concluded far below their feet. Meanwhile, aboard the diplomatic vessel Celestial Accord, Dr. Reeves turned away from the communication terminal. Phase 4 complete, she reported to Admiral Riker, who stood nearby. Special security operations has been neutralized. Riker nodded, his expression showing neither triumph nor relief, merely satisfaction that another piece of the plan had fallen into place. What about Director Malazar? He asked, and can we trust him to comply? He has no choice, Dr. Reeves replied. We've disabled his strike teams, locked down his facility's security systems, and given him a clear path to survival. Cooperation. His psychological profile indicates he'll choose self-preservation. Riker moved to the viewport, watching as shuttles carried council representatives to and from the orbital station. In just 2 hours, they would vote on Earth's proposal. It's strange, he said after a moment. For centuries, humanity prepared for this confrontation. We built the Dawn Network, developed technologies the Council can barely comprehend, infiltrated their most secret operations. We could have demanded anything: special status, exclusive territories, even dominance over certain sectors. But that was never the goal, Dr. Reeves reminded him. Power for its own sake leads to the same corruption we're fighting against. We want partnership, not domination. And if they still vote against us, Dr. Reeves smiled slightly. They won't. Between the benefits we've demonstrated, the vulnerabilities we've exposed, and the secrets we've promised not to reveal, they have every incentive to accept our terms. The ship's communication system chimed, and Ambassador Wilson's face appeared on the main display. The Council leadership has accepted our counter-proposal, he reported. They're presenting it to the full assembly now. The vote is scheduled for 1 hour from now. Counter-proposal? Riker asked, frowning. What changes did they make? Minor adjustments to oversight procedures, timeline for implementation, that sort of thing, Wilson replied. Nothing that affects our core demands. Earth will have equal standing, unrestricted technological development with reasonable safety protocols, and integration of the Dawn network with Council systems. Riker nodded, satisfied. And special security operations? Being reformed as we speak, Wilson said with a slight smile. Director Malazar has been surprisingly forthcoming about their activities over the past 2 centuries. Several Council members are disturbed by what they're learning. After the communication ended, Riker turned back to Dr. Reeves. It seems our plan has succeeded on all fronts. Almost all, she corrected. There's still the matter of the 7 founding species. They've dominated the Council for millennia. They won't easily accept a new balance of power. They'll adapt, Riker said confidently. They have no choice. The galaxy is changing with or without their permission. An hour later, they watched on the ship's main display as the Council vote was tallied. Representative after representative registered their position on Earth's proposal. The outcome wasn't unanimous. Several militaristic worlds and a few of the founding species voted against. But the final count was clear. 76% in favor, 24% opposed. Earth's proposal had been accepted. Humanity would take its place as an equal partner in galactic society, no longer restricted by the fears and prejudices of older species. As celebrations began on Earth and its colonies, Admiral Riker, Dr. Reeves, and their team remained focused on the work ahead. Establishing true partnership would require more than just a vote. It would demand ongoing vigilance, diplomatic skill, and technological integration. 1 week after Admiral Riker's appearance before the Galactic Council, representatives from all member worlds gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall of Centraxia Prime. Unlike the Judgment Chamber with its imposing architecture designed to intimidate, the Assembly Hall was created for celebration and unity, its soaring ceilings and gentle lighting fostering a sense of community. The massive space buzzed with anticipation. This was no ordinary assembly. It was the formal signing of the Treaty of Mutual Recognition between Earth and the Galactic Council, a document that would fundamentally reshape interstellar relations for millennia to come. High Counselor Voxamar stood at the central podium, flanked by the 7 prime representatives of the Council's founding species. Behind them, on a slightly elevated platform, stood the human delegation, Admiral Riker, Ilara Novak, Ambassador Wilson, and Dr. Reeves, together for the first time in public. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Voxamar began, his voice carrying effortlessly through the hall. Today marks a significant transition in our shared history. After extensive deliberation and yes, considerable controversy, the Council has ratified the Treaty of Mutual Recognition with Earth. Murmurs rippled through the assembly, not all of them approving. Change never came easily, especially to a body as ancient and tradition-bound as the Council. The treaty acknowledges humanity as a full and equal partner in the Council, with all associated rights and responsibilities, continued Voxamar, his skin displaying formal patterns of authority and ceremony. It also establishes new protocols for technological development and sharing that will apply equally to all member species. He gestured to the human delegation. In recognition of this historic moment, Admiral Marcus Riker will address the assembly. Marcus stepped forward, his expression solemn but not triumphant. He understood that this moment required statesmanship, not victory celebrations. Esteemed representatives, he began, humanity thanks you for your wisdom and courage. Change is never easy, especially when it challenges centuries of tradition and established power structures. He paused, looking around the vast hall. Many of you feared that giving humans equal standing would undermine the Council's authority. I'm here to assure you of the opposite. Earth sought this recognition not to weaken the Council, but to strengthen it, to transform it from an instrument of control into a true partnership of equals. Marcus activated a holographic display showing a complex network of interconnected nodes spanning the galaxy, a larger, more comprehensive version of the system he had revealed in the Judgment Chamber a week earlier. This is the Dawn Network, humanity's independent communication and monitoring system, he explained. Developed in secret over decades, it has until now been exclusively under Earth's control. Today, as our first act as equal partners, we transfer operational authority to a joint commission representing all Council species. The announcement triggered a wave of shocked whispers. No one had expected humans to relinquish control of their most powerful leverage. The network will be upgraded and expanded, Marcus continued, creating a shared infrastructure that benefits all worlds, not just those deemed important by the founding species. For too long, the Council has been divided between those with power and those without. That division ends today. Ambassador Wilson stepped forward next. As part of the new treaty, Earth has also provided complete documentation on advanced technologies previously kept secret. Medical innovations that can extend lifespans across all known species. Energy systems that operate at efficiencies thought theoretically impossible. Transportation methods that will make the most remote Council worlds as accessible as the central planets. He gestured to Dr. Reeves, who activated a secondary display showing the organizational structure of the reformed Council. Perhaps most importantly, Wilson continued, we've worked with representatives from across the Council to create a new governance model, one with genuine checks and balances, transparency requirements, and protections for minority species. In the audience, representatives studied the proposed reforms with varying reactions. Some nodded in approval, others frowned in concern, but all recognized the significance of what was happening. This was no minor policy adjustment. It was a fundamental reimagining of how the galaxy would be governed. Ilara Novak concluded the presentation, her voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority. Some of you still wonder why the Council should trust humans after we revealed our deception. The answer is simple: because we could have demanded much more than we did. The assembly fell silent at her directness. The network we built gave us leverage to demand special status above other species, or to break away entirely and form a competing galactic power. We chose neither. Instead, we used our position of strength to create a more equitable system for all. She smiled slightly. That is the human way, not domination, but innovation. Not conquest, but connection. We don't seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to help it flourish. As she stepped back, Archon Zealous of the Security Consortium approached the speaking platform. As one of the most vocal opponents of Earth's proposal, his words now carried particular weight. I oppose this treaty, he admitted, his mechanical voice echoing through the hall. I believed humans represented a threat to galactic stability, that their rapid advancement and deceptive tactics made them untrustworthy partners. He paused, his forearms shifting into a formal position of acknowledgement. I was wrong. In the past week, human technical teams have worked with our security forces to implement protections against vulnerabilities we didn't know existed. They've shared innovations freely without demanding special consideration. Zelos turned to face the human delegation directly. The Security Consortium formally withdraws its opposition to Earth's equal status. We recognize that strength can be used to protect as well as to dominate. Similar statements followed from representatives of other factions that had initially opposed the treaty. One by one, they acknowledged the benefits humanity had already brought to Council worlds and expressed cautious optimism about the future partnership. High Counselor Voxamar returned to the podium for the formal signing ceremony. His skin, usually shifting rapidly between official colors of authority, had settled into a calm blue that indicated genuine emotion rather than ceremonial display. When Admiral Riker first stood before us, I saw only a threat to be contained, he admitted. I was wrong. What humans brought was not destruction, but transformation. Painful, yes, but necessary. He extended 4 of his tentacles in a gesture of formal acceptance. On behalf of the reformed Galactic Council, I welcome humanity not as subjects, but as partners. Together we begin a new chapter in our shared journey among the stars. As representatives from each major faction approached to sign the treaty, Ambassador Wilson took a moment to speak privately with Admiral Riker. Did you ever imagine we'd reach this point so quickly? Wilson asked. The plan called for a transitional period of at least a year. Riker smiled slightly. I think we underestimated how ready the galaxy was for change. The Council's structure had been calcifying for centuries. Once we applied enough pressure, the fractures appeared faster than anyone expected. And Director Malazar's organization? Being reformed as we speak, Riker replied. Dr. Reeves is overseeing the transition personally. The Council will still have internal security, but with proper oversight and accountability. Wilson nodded in satisfaction. And the Dawn Network? Integration begins tomorrow. Within 6 months, it will connect every Council world, eliminating the communication and resource disparities that have divided member species for millennia. Their conversation was interrupted as Ilara approached. It's time, she said. Your signature is required, Admiral. As Riker moved forward to sign the historic document, he reflected on the long journey that had led to this moment. Generations of humans had worked, planned, and sacrificed to reach this day. They had hidden their true capabilities, endured unfair restrictions, and patiently built the leverage needed to force change. But the goal had never been dominance or special status. It had always been partnership, equal, fair, and mutually beneficial. Humanity understood something the Council had forgotten. True strength came not from control, but from cooperation. Not from uniformity, but from diversity. As the final signatures were applied and the Treaty of Mutual Recognition became official, a new era began for the galaxy. The old hierarchies would fade, replaced by more equitable structures. Ancient technologies would be enhanced by human innovation, and the barriers that had separated worlds for millennia would dissolve in favor of genuine connection. On Earth and its colonies, celebrations erupted as news of the treaty spread. But for those who had orchestrated humanity's grand strategy, the work was just beginning. Implementing the reforms, integrating the technologies, building trust across species. These challenges would occupy them for years to come. Yet as Riker, Wilson, Novak, and Reeves stood together on the ceremonial platform, watching representatives from thousands of worlds applaud the new agreement, they knew their efforts had been worthwhile. The day the Galactic Council had regretted opposing humans had become something far more significant. The day that transformed galactic civilization for the better.